Have you decided to put in a gas furnace, gas logs, etc., and you went to buy the thing or the gas stove, and then you heard the person, or you pulled out the literature, and then you hear the term, the lingo, gas water columns. It needs X amount of water columns to operate properly, and perhaps you may not understand the exact science of water columns and what they do and how many you need. You hear this lingo, and it may sound like a foreign language to you, but it's there are more scientific definitions. However, the basics are pretty simple. If you just round it off, these are approximations; they're not exact science. So, if we take and say the approximately water column uses for residential use, if we take 1 psi may be equivalent to about 27.78 708 water columns. So we're going to take an approximation, and we're just going to say one water column may be 1 psi. 1 psi equals 28 water columns. So now keep this number in mind. So this is a rounded up number. This is an approximate number. It's not an exact science. So water columns is simply a lower pressure than psi, in my opinion. Okay, so if we have a 2 pound meter, we go here and we have 2 psi. So we would we rounded it up 27.78, just say 1 psi, and approximately would be 28, just a rounded number. If we take this number and multiply it by 2, if we have a 2 psi, we have 56 water columns. So if we have 56 water columns, down here on the bottom, we see we need between 7 and 11 water columns to operate many fixtures, gas fixtures, natural gas fixtures, or propane or whatnot. So if we have 56 water columns, this is going to be way too high. So if one has a 2 pound meter, basically they're going to need a regulator, a pressure regulator, in my opinion, to regulate this pressure from 56 down. Now, on the inlet side, it may come in as, say, a 2 pound meter. They call it 2 pound, the lingo. If you hear the word 2 pound, essentially that may mean 2 psi. So when it goes through the inlet side, it's going through as 2 psi. When it's exiting the inlet side to the exit side, it may be going to 7 to 11 water columns. As we can see here on the bottom, 7 to 11 water columns may be around the optimum pressure to run many fixtures, gas gas logs, etc. So, to recap, we have a 1 pound. We're going to round these numbers off. These are not exact science, an approximately number. So 1 psi equals 28 water columns. Technically, it may equal 27.78, but we're just going to use a rounded number to keep it simple, so the average Joe can understand what's going on here. 1 psi. So if we have a half-pound meter, we may not need a regulator, because we take 28 divided by 2, that comes up to 14 water columns. That's very close to the 7 and 11 we need. So, but go on down, but if we have a 2 pound meter, we take 28 water columns, the rounded number, multiply that by 2, we come up with 56 water columns. So once we take 56, we in the average unit, look at your literature on your unit, maybe your gas logs or whatever you're putting in. Just look at your literature, and it may tell you how many water columns you need to operate. But it may be in the range of 7 to 11. So we know now we have 56, 7 to 11 is going to be way too high. So we're going to have to get that 56 number down to 7 and 11, and that is done through a regulator, a pressure regulator, to reduce the pressure. So what happens on the inlet side, we have a 2 psi meter. The lingo in the industry is 2-pound meter. A 2-pound meter simply, for the average Joe, may mean a 2 psi meter. So 56 water columns. So on the inlet side, we have a 2 psi or 56 water columns. Both are equivalent. So when we go through that meter, we're going through at 2 psi or 56 water columns. When we exit that pressure reducer, we're coming out at 7 to 11 water columns, which is optimum pressure. So it tells you if one has a 2-pound meter, they're going to need to reduce the pressure on down. And so anyway, just a quick formula to calculate it, to break the simple terms down. Sometimes people talk in language and try to be abstruse or arcane and talk in language that the average person doesn't understand. But sometimes it helps just to understand the basics. And if you understand the basics and simplify the complicated, because it's not that complicated, but basically, once you know how to do it, so you can just take 1 psi, an approximation, a rounded number would be 28 water columns. So if you take that number, if you have a 2-pound, you just multiply 28 by 2. Now you have 56, but way too much. We need it down, so we have to have something in there, a reducer to get it down to 7 and 11 water columns, and everything should be fine. So these are simplified ways to figure out to get your pressure where your pressure needs to be. Thank you for watching. If you find any of these videos helpful, please feel free to share, like, and subscribe. And have a wonderful day.